Jennifer, thank you for coming back for a second session. How have you been since the last time we spoke?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about my mother-in-law. Um, it's very sad, and I'm less than optimistic, and I don't like thinking that way. Um, I don't know what's going to happen, um, and I want to hope that she's going to be okay, but I'm very, very worried. And I was thinking since our last session that, some of the neat things that she did for my family and my son specifically, well, for me and for Larry, she came and when Jacob was born, he was born, Jacob's a miracle like many times over because he was born 6 weeks prematurely. And um, after he was born, like 5 years later, I had to have a hysterectomy, and they told me that my uterus was so screwed up that they had no idea how I even had a baby, much less kept him in me for how many weeks? 36 weeks. They said that my uterus was such a mess that it just it was they used the word miracle that I had a child. So anyway, so Jacob was born um, May 10th of 2000, and my mother-in-law came down when he was born and did the 2 a.m. feedings. She stayed in the house with us, and at the time I thought that I didn't want that, but I liked it once it happened. But then when I saw her at Christmas time this year, we went up and spent a week with them. Um, I let her know how much I appreciated that. That was really special, and it was really a wonderful bonding experience for all of us, but for especially for her and my son. And they they've she's been a wonderful grandmother to him, and she's always been there for him when he was sick, when he was well. She was known as Grandma Disney. We still call her Grandma Disney because Jacob's friends at school would say, "Does your grandmother related to Disney World?" And we were like, "No, no, no." She was known as Grandma Disney because a couple of times she came down when he was like 2.5, 3 years old, and we went to Disney World with her. And, that's pretty neat for grandma to go with the little baby to Disney World and, and do all the little baby things, It's a Small World and all the fun little rides. And um, she is really a wonderful woman. And yeah, and I hope that she'll be around to grandmother my son a little bit more.
I can hear the anxiety in your voice, the fear of not knowing what will come. But I also hear the sense of appreciation that you have for, your mother-in-law and everything she's done for your family. Let's talk about more of, what she's done.
Well, she's I remember when my husband my husband and I are both attorneys, but my husband practices, I don't. And when after Jacob got sick, my husband decided to leave the big law firm that he was at and start his own firm. So until he was making money, we had a couple of months where things were tight. And his mom, Jacob, was on dialysis at that point, and he was having a little bit of problem in school and needed some special tutoring, and it was very expensive, like $5,000. And she paid for it, and it was awesome. I mean, it was so sweet and so special. And she said, "No, I want to take care of this for him. He needs this." And so we were able to pay for this special program that helped him with his reading. And he had missed so much school that he was a little behind. And now, of course, he just this is great. He just told me yesterday he got a 97 on his math midterm, and a 90, what do you say, 95 on his English midterm. So any problem that he had back in first grade has fixed itself, and he's, doing really well. But part of that is because my mother-in-law paid for the special program for him to go and help him with his reading. And he was just, he had been through so much that it was hard. But she did that, and we went on a cruise with her once, and that was amazing. We all paid our own way, but it was just really fun, and we went with her. And my son loves to go to afternoon tea, high tea, like, like English people. And the way we found out he loved it was we were on the ship, and they had a special Sunday afternoon high tea in the special fancy restaurant. So we went, and he loved it. Loved it. He loved the little finger sandwiches, and he loves the tea. And so now wherever we go, in whatever town we go to visit, we always go for afternoon tea. And so we've been like, we go to Boston once a year to go to the doctors up there, to the specialists that have saved his kidney. So we, have done tea at a couple different places in Boston. There's lots of places. There's somewhere down here in Davie, believe it or not, in a little shopping center that's a real authentic afternoon British, like, countryside tea. It's really great. So we did that with her a few times. She loved to go. She would love that. And so I've enjoyed my times with her, and I look forward to times with her.
Well, I can sense that she had a great impact on your life and also your family's life. You sound very family oriented. Sounds like your family actually is a great support system for you. Have you mentioned to them about your goals for the new year?
Yeah, my mother-in-law not so much, but because she's got too much on her plate. I'm just there to support her right now. But my own mom, who I'm very, very close to, um, she's very supportive, and hopes that I can get things under control and continue. Because I had lost weight in November into December, and then when the restaurant opened, I gained more, more. Now I didn't get it all back, but I gained some of it back. And so, yeah, my mom is a good support system. Um, it's hard though when we're going out after this today. It's hard. You got to make a good choice. They have a good roasted chicken. I'll have roasted chicken. It's an Asian restaurant. It's Thai and sushi. And maybe if maybe you'll come one day. Anyway, going back to my feelings. Um, yeah, I think I definitely have family support, but nobody's gonna take a gun to my head and say, "Don't eat those onion rings," like I did today. It's my husband's. I would have bit my husband's head off if he had said, "Don't order onion rings." Although that's not true. If he had said it, I would have said, "You're right. I'll have some a salad," or if he had said it, I would have actually listened to him. But I don't know why he didn't say anything, now that I think of it.
So with that being said, have your husband does understand that you have these New Year's resolutions. Do you feel like if he was more involved, it'd be a easier, how do I put it? It'd be easier for you to accomplish your goals, or do you feel like this is solely based on your self determination?
I do think if I would include him, it might be easier. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I think I should say to him, "Come on, help me out here. We're a team. You know, he can eat anything. He goes to Flywheel. He's the Flywheel king. He goes spinning um, twice a day sometimes, and then he does a bar class, and he's like the only man in the class, and he's got all these little ladies who love him, and and hold on, Jacob,
I'm sorry. I have Daddy needs to know
hold on, Daddy needs to know what?
if the door Latex clothes.
Yes. Okay, I'm sorry. We'll just keep it on. So, I, it's beyond me how they could come in here and interrupt that when they see we're in the middle of something, yet somehow it's okay to ask mommy this. Anyway, I'm sorry. So going back, yes, I think it would be really helpful if I in encouraged my husband and my son to help me. Although I can hear my husband saying this is not my job to police what you're eating. But I don't think he has to police it. I just think he has to help me make better decisions, you know, or point out when something's not a good decision. That might be the way to do it.
Gotcha. I hear you saying sometimes it's good to have a little reminder, somebody reminding you of your goals. Can you think of anything that you and your husband could do pretty much to help achieve your goals?
Yeah, you know, he gets up every morning and goes like at 6:30 to Flywheel. He also rides his bike, his road bike on the street, but he since he's been doing Flywheel, he does less and less of the road biking, which I'm very happy about. He had a very serious accident. Um, what year was it? 2010, I think. And he was in the ICU for 2 weeks from a bicycle accident, and very, very beat up. He had multiple fractures, and you know, scapula. What's the other one called? Um, I can't think of the bones, but multiple broken ribs, and arm, and crazy stuff. And he didn't. Um, so now he's doing more Flywheel, which is indoor spinning, which is much safer, obviously. So I'm happy for that. So, but like, you know, if I really wanted to, I could get up and go, and I wouldn't go to Flywheel because I'm not quite ready for that, but I could get on my recumbent bike when he goes to Flywheel, or, you know, maybe make it a deal that right when I get Jacob off to school, I get on my recumbent bike. You know, we could do something together. You know, he could get on the bike and I could get on the I could get on the bike, he could get on the treadmill, something. We could do something together. It's a good idea.
Definitely nice to hear you, you know, brainstorm family oriented things that you can do with your family. But I'd like to actually go back to, you know, your husband being in the ICU and how you actually dealt with that emotional disturbance.
Oh, it was another harrowing life event. Jacob and I were in Gainesville. Jacob's transplant was done in Gainesville at Shands Hospital, and we were up there for um, a you know, a routine checkup. So I got a phone call at the hotel in the morning before the appointment, and it was my husband's friend, and they said, Jen, Larry's been in a bike wreck. You need to come to Aventura Hospital. And I said, well, Martin, I'm in Gainesville. And he said, oh, okay. Well, it's not that bad. I think he hurt his knee. And I said, well, is his head okay? And, you know, oh yeah. But, you know, you need to get here. So I said, okay. And we have friends who are doctors. So I called my friends, they're neurologists. Well, the one in particular, John, I called him and said, Larry's being brought by ambulance to Aventura. You know, can you find out what's going on? So he started investigating. We went on to the doctor's appointment. We were in the doctor's appointment, and they called, and John said, they're thinking about bringing him to a level 4 trauma center. It's really bad. And I'm like, oh my God. So, but they didn't want to, they knew I had to drive home. So they said, just, come. So we got out at the doctor's appointment. We just kind of left, and we got on the road, and it was the longest, fastest. I don't know if it was long or fast. I remember it, and we drove back from Gainesville straight to the hospital. My mom, who lives in north of Jacksonville in Fernandina Beach, I called her on the way home. She said, I'll meet you down there. You're going to need my help with Jacob. And so she got in the car and she started driving. And we all met up in the hospital. And it was really bad. I mean, he was out of it. And he had a tube in his chest, and so my mom took care of my son. I stayed in the hospital with Larry, and I slept on the floor. We bought like a little mat to put on the floor because they had one of those pull-out chairs, but you can't. That was very hard to sleep on. So I slept on the floor, and he got better, and he doesn't remember anything of it. He doesn't remember the 2 weeks in the hospital. He has no recollection. And so it was a really scary time. Yeah, it was scary.
Yeah, I definitely got a sense of fear from, when you're called in letting you know your husband was in the ICU. But I have a question. Do you see any similarities between the way you responded emotionally with your husband as with, your mother-in-law?
Well, it's interesting. No, when I was so busy in the hospital with him that I didn't turn to food. I didn't. It And I don't think I'll continue to turn to food with her. It just was today. It was like today, just somehow it was better. Things seemed better by eating onion rings. I'm not sure why, but it just seemed better. But no, I didn't do that when he was in the hospital, when my husband was in the hospital. So it's an interesting idea, though. I'm thinking back to it. I do remember times when Jacob was in the hospital having different things, and we would find interesting snacks in the vending machines, my husband and I. And my husband has lost a lot of weight, so he's very much in shape now, but at different times he wasn't always this thin. There's this one snack in the vending machines at all the hospitals. It's called Big Texas, and it's a big, huge Danish, like a big
Yeah.
piece of bread with frosting on it. It's amazing. I mean, it's really good, but it's like 600 and something calories. So I think, hold on, Larry, I have 30 seconds. I'm sorry, we're at 19. We'll call it done. Okay.